It's so nice to see everybody again. I always look forward to this day a lot. There's so many people here who know about Kākahi. I'll just make the introduction really brief. Kākahi are bivalve molluscs that live in this lake in pretty reasonable numbers, although according to the stories there used to be an awful lot more. And there's a few pieces of evidence suggesting that they're not doing so well these days as they used to. So that's why we're doing this. The goal of our monitoring is to both look after the Kākahi themselves and also to get a kind of a look into the health of the lake. What we do when we monitor, we go out, we just kind of move around, feeling with our feet, ducking down with our hands, or however we like to do it. And you usually collect them quite quickly. And then we're going to take a bunch of measurements and then return them to the water again.
One more, have we? So what's our smallest one?
49.
A 3. So how are we going for our counts?
That was quite a mix.
Yeah, it's a mixture of that. I'm trying to figure that one out.
The babies, we're doing some targeted searching for babies, which is very exciting. We just get a wee sieve, just get a scoop of sediment and just sift in the water, and you'll see if we have anything out there. We don't really have much of an idea. No one's looked here before. There's a prize for the person who gets the smallest Kākahi.
We've got 2 definite juveniles, no more than 1 millimetre in length.
But that took 30 minutes. And if we're not finding juveniles,
They're not
that's
replacing.
making us wondering that the population isn't regenerating. If you think about a normal population distribution, you know, you have a bell-shaped curve, because you've got your young, and then you've got the most common size, and then you've got mature, the old Kākahi. And what we've been finding is just mostly all mature.
So that's 6 years worth of coming each year to finally get a couple of juveniles. So that's really something for us.
Looking at ours, the big ones of the year is just not a lot of small stuff.
Certainly plenty of shellfish down there. We picked up our 50 in just on 7 minutes, so there was plenty out there. Yeah, half an hour of sieving, I never found anything that was actually very, small. I like the wetlands, and obviously degradation of our waterways is a big concern. So, and because I use the place, for me it's like trying to do my bit to put something back again. Don't know what the answer is, but certainly monitoring the shellfish sets a bit of a benchmark, so we can try and put a line in the sand and try and move forward and get things better than what they were. That's how I see it. Yeah.
We had about 35 people here today in the water. They were spread out across 9 survey zones, so they had about kind of a 50-metre wide area in which to search for Kākahi. One of the things I think it makes a really effective citizen science project is that it's introducing people to something that they probably wouldn't have known a lot about. You're taking them to an environment that they might have walked past but not necessarily gone in, because Lake Wairarapa isn't a place where people necessarily think, oh, I should swim here. It doesn't always look very inviting, so getting people actually in the water I think is really special. And I think it also is a project where people can find success really easily because they go out there and they find Kākahi.
We assume they used to be present in much greater numbers than they are today, although it's still relatively easy to find some. If you just wander out, you can feel around with your feet. And they don't live attached to things the way that marine mussels do, so they actually can be quite mobile if need be. They just make like a cruising motion through the substrate and they bury themselves when they find a spot they like, and they pretty much stay there until something goes wrong and they need to move, and they can do that again. Wairarapa Moana has all sorts of things going wrong with it because of people. So there's pollution, mostly from farms, agricultural pollution coming in, nutrients changing the way the flora mostly in the lake functions. So nutrients pour in from the farms and plants grow, and then they change the whole way the lake functions. So that's one thing. Sediment as well, that influences how well the Kākahi can filter feed, especially the babies. They find it quite hard to filter feed through sediment. Huge changes to the whole waterscape here. Most of native fish are migratory, so the native fish that provide the host service to the juvenile Kākahi, which they must have as part of their life cycle, are mostly absent from here because of the diversion scheme, which creates life cycle barriers to those migratory fish. And they've been replaced by pest fish, introduced fish such as perch and rudd, which are not able to provide an adequate host service for the juvenile kākahi.
The juveniles need to latch on to a host fish to complete that part of their life cycle before they drop into the sediment. So without that specific host fish, those kākahi might not be making it through that life stage.
Whatever's going on down there, it's not bringing sufficient juveniles back in to replace the population. So I think that's called extinction debt. When you find a population like that will effectively be extinct very soon. You know, it just depends on how long the adults will live for. People are learning how to propagate them in labs. So to create a whole lot of juveniles and then grow them to a certain size and then replace them back into the lakes where you're hoping to help a population. So there's potential there, although that's just kind of being learnt. We're learning how to do that now, so we really are racing against the clock. There's been lots more funding being allocated to kākahi conservation research very recently, so hopefully there's a lot of people have aspirations for using large numbers of them to clean up dirty lakes. They're a really important species, actually, because of their filtration ability. So they just constantly are pulling water in through their inhalant siphon. They'll take in whatever's in the water column and somehow they make decisions about what to eat or what not to eat. Pseudofeces is the stuff that they discard, so it's not feces, it's like the leftovers from the filtration system. So it's not what goes through their digestive system. It's what they choose not to take into the digestive system and fix on the bottom. That's how they can, clear water, sedimenty water. They just grab all the dirt out of the water and fix it into a little pile on the bottom. So they basically spend the whole of their lives filtering the water in the lake. And when you have enough numbers, a big enough population of kākahi in the lake, they're a very, very important animal to have in an environment where filtration is important. And I think the smallest was 10.6, which was in group 1, which was very little. It's definitely not as many as you would expect in a healthy population, but it's more than 0, so it's something, and it was cool to see little ones.
Beautiful, thank you.